Hi, it's Bumble. Welcome back to my channel. I'm excited to be talking about this movie. I haven't seen it in so long. I'm actually surprised I haven't watched it more because, like, I've had it on DVD since I was a kid. I don't even remember where a DVD came from. But this is a good movie. I forgot it's from like 1991. Like, I knew it's from the 90s. I knew it's from like the Disney Renaissance and stuff. I just didn't remember what part of the decade. I was surprised it was so early, though. I thought it was like later into the 90s. But yeah, this movie's really good. It was really nice to see it again. I really liked the music, but I also, and it was something I was paying attention more to, I think, with this viewing since, oh gosh, I don't remember the last time I actually watched this movie. I was paying more attention to like the background art and stuff because there's a lot of like nature scenes, especially at the beginning when Belle's going through her town and stuff, and it's so pretty. There's so many great shots of like the outdoors, or sometimes there's these like faraway views of like the castle and then like the surrounding landscape and stuff, because I think the beginning of the movie, I'm assuming it was like early winter, late fall or something, because it kind of looks like it's fall, and then once Belle ends up in the castle, it's snowing, so I'm assuming it's like winter or something. And like a lot of the winter scenes look really cool too. I mean, you mostly see like the inside of the castle, but you see some stuff outside with the snow. Like there's a forest outside of the castle, and sometimes during parts of the movie it's snowy or kind of spooky looking, and that was really cool too. I love the spooky looking forest, and then we got to see a lot of that. But I really loved just kind of the surrounding area of where Belle lives. Like at the beginning of the movie, there's like all these trees and stuff. It looks really pretty. Like I was going through the movie and I kept thinking like, which parts of this am I gonna have to like pause, take a picture of with my phone, and do like a watercolor painting of, which I didn't decide, but I feel like I'm gonna have to watch it again just to see. But that the background art and stuff was something I was just really paying attention more to in this viewing. I like the instrumental music at the beginning and showing the forest in front of the castle. It gives kind of this like fairy tale kind of vibe. I mean, the movie already has that already about I mean, Belle isn't like a princess or anything. She just lives in this village, but like her going to this castle and this like beast who's a prince and stuff. Like it's already a fairy tale already, but I like that the locations in the movie kind of give it that look even more so. I was wondering who the narrator was at the beginning, because I think the narrator's only at the beginning of the movie. I still haven't really looked up the cast or anything. But I liked whoever the narrator was. His voice sounded like very gentle, of this telling this like backstory and stuff, about how the prince ends up getting cursed and all the like servants turning into furniture. And I really like that it's done through the stained glass artwork. I thought that was pretty cool. And then at the end of the movie, you know, when the beast and everybody else are human again, it shows him and Belle dancing as like the new stained glass artwork. I thought that was cool. The one thing that's always weird to me is watching this movie, and I never really thought about it when I was younger, but I did this time, is like the movie seems like it's like a little confusing and inconsistent with like, oh, how old is the beast when he gets like, you know, transformed from being a human? Because like he looks like a young adult in like the stained glass artwork. Like he seems kind of tall, and then there's that painting where they showed he looks like in the human form, which, you know, that has to be from like before he gets transformed, obviously, and he looks the same as he does when he gets, you know, transform back into a human at the end. And I'm surprised at something, by the way, I didn't pay attention to the first time I watched. Like, they literally show what that full painting looks like, because, like, later in the movie when Belle's in the West Wing, you only see the eyes of the painting, which I think is how she was able to recognize the beast as a human at like the end of the movie, because she like kind of looks into his eyes. But like that painting, when you get to see it before it gets ripped up and stuff, that like literally spoils what he looks like, and that's at like the beginning of the movie. And I was thinking like, how did I never notice that? But yeah, in the painting and in the stained glass artwork, he seems, you know, like an adult, or maybe late teens. I've heard that Belle's supposed to either be like 17 or in like her 20s or something. I'm not really sure. I'm never really sure with like some of the Disney princesses and stuff. But yeah, I just assumed the beast was like a similar age, but then with they have that one line in Be Our Guest about the 10 years thing. So it feels kind of confusing of like, if you take the age thing literally with some of the numbers, it means getting like cursed as like a child and then aging till 21. Or I'm just assuming, because they make the 21st birthday thing very clear with like how the spell and the rose works and whatever. I'm just assuming because of some of the more like the paintings and the stained glass, I'm just assuming it's like he turns 21 and time's like frozen around the castle. I was thinking maybe that's even why. I mean, I'm trying not to take Belle's song too literally when she's singing about every day being the same in her town or whatever, but I mean, hypothetically it could be. I mean, if the castle is like frozen in time, basically, who's to say like if it affects the surrounding areas or whatever. But I know she probably just means like, oh, everyone just does the same thing all the time, I want more than this and whatever. But the age thing's kind of interesting to think about, of like when the curse, I'm assuming it's like frozen in time or whatever, because like Chip, you know, in like cup form as a child and then is still a child as like a human person. I'm imagining he's not like literally born as a cup. That would probably be weird. But then it's weird to think about the age thing too, because like if you interpret the numbers of like the beast being like potentially a child when transformed, that makes the punishment from the fairy that, or the enchantress or whatever it is that starts it, kind of like even more messed up, because you think like stranger danger, you know, you don't let a stranger into your house and stuff. I mean, even as an adult, I wouldn't let a random stranger into my house. I actually do think it's kind of messed up and kind of weird he gets punished. Like, I get it's supposed to be like, oh, there's this old woman who needed shelter and he didn't let her in and stuff. And I mean, he didn't want Maurice in there either. I sort of get it of like, yeah, you probably would let someone in from the cold. But I'm just surprised that, like, you know, he's the prince of a castle. Why is the prince, no matter what his age is, answering the door and not like a servant? We obviously know they're servants because, you know, they're all the furniture. There's like a dozen of them. That's kind of weird. I think that was something I can't completely remember they changed for the live action movie. I think I actually saw the live action movie in theaters. I think I saw it in theaters with like my mom or dad or something. I don't really remember it that well, but I think you actually do get the scene where like instead of the stained glass where like the characters are human at first or something. I don't 100% remember. Now I'm like kind of tempted to watch it. It's not going to be as good as this movie though. I'm like well aware of that. Anyway, something I do want to say with this movie though is the singing is really, really good. Not just for the main characters, but like everyone, because you have a lot of people singing in this movie. Actually, it's like you have Belle, you have the people in the castle, you have Gaston, you have like practically every townsperson, and they all like seem to sing pretty good. I was happy with that. I especially love Belle's voice as well. It's really pretty. And whoever voices the beast also does a really good job. I forgot that the two, like Belle gets more songs than like, I think her, the mob, and like the furniture get more songs than anyone else. But actually no, Belle has two, but like Belle and the Beast have like a duet at one point that I forgot was a duet. So you get to hear a lot of people sing, and the songs are really good too. I kind of don't really remember the names of most of them. Like the opening song where it's like Belle and all the townspeople singing and stuff is really catchy. As I was watching it, I was thinking like I could just imagine it as just like a stage musical. Like I know a lot of the Disney movies, you know, with their songs and stuff are like musicals and everything. But I feel like out of some of the ones I've watched recently, I feel like Beauty and the Beast feels the most like Disney Beauty and the Beast, I mean, feels the most like something, it gives the most of a vibe of like a stage musical. Like it would translate really well. I'm assuming it's a musical. I know at least Aladdin is, because I've seen ads for that, and I saw the Lion King like on stage and stuff. That was really cool actually. But now I gotta look up if Beauty and the Beast is as well, because with the format that the Disney animated movie is, that would translate so easily. I do find it kind of funny of like everyone they're singing about their jobs and about Belle and whatever. It's so weird to me. They just make fun of her for being a bookworm. But then again, Gaston, I mean, also the fact that he's an idiot, has some line about like, oh, women shouldn't be reading, they get ideas or whatever. And I know Gaston's stupid, but then it made me wonder of like, does the rest of the town feel that way? Do they only hate Belle because she's a bookworm, or is it also because they think her father has some issues or something? Like, I like kind of remembered about Maurice a little bit, but I completely forgot that he was an inventor that makes these, yeah, I'll say pretty dangerous kind of inventions. Like, he makes one, I think, for like wood chopping or something, and then Chip ends up using it later to save Belle and Maurice when they're like stuck in like a cellar or something, and that it could have killed them for sure. There's a detail I noticed only on this viewing, actually. I didn't really think about I guess I didn't think about it much before. There's this one part, it's also vocal wise one of my favorite parts, where Belle is sitting at this fountain and she's reading this book and she's singing about it to some like local sheep, and there's some line where part of the plot of her book, like her favorite part of it, is the main character not finding out that this person she meets will eventually be like her Prince Charming or something until the 3rd chapter. And I was thinking this time, I was like, I had to pause and I was thinking, like, is this foreshadowing? Because she'll end up meeting the Beast and then eventually they'll become lovers and stuff. I was just thinking so, but I never really thought anything of that line until I was watching this time. So they end up finishing that song, and I kind of vaguely remembered Gaston's, I don't even remember what his name is, his like little helper friend person or something with the kind of big nose. He looks kind of more cartoony than like any of the other humans in this, honestly. I can't remember if he's played by Josh Gad, like the actor that voices Olaf. That's what I was associating with, that and the Book of Mormon. I thought that's who played him in the live action version. I can't remember. Probably. I was just thinking about that because whoever voices him for this animated movie from 1991 sounds really similar to Josh Gad, to the point where it threw me off. I was like, wait a minute, what year is this movie from again? But if they did cast him for that with a live action, that would fit perfectly. But like I said, I haven't seen the live action movie in a while. I remember more of, I'd recognize more of the cast than I do with this, but yeah, I might have to check it out. It's a maybe, I don't know. But it's funny hearing Belle sing about like how it's like kind of how boring her life is, but about her town, but like also how people don't understand her, but then she lives in this like beautiful like small town in France with this like lovely fall scenery and everything, and her singing about like I know she's singing more about her life than her location, but I just keep looking at where she lives and I'm like, man, the countryside is really pretty. I kind of like the design of all of the furniture, the talking furniture and stuff, and I feel like it communicates their personalities well, and I'm glad they have mouths. But on the other hand, I kind of liked when Maurice ends up stumbling into the castle and you get to see Lumiere and Cogsworth for the first time, and they're talking, but you don't actually see their mouths. They're like almost a little only alive, and that you only see their eyes. I actually kind of liked, I like their faces, I like their designs and stuff, but I did kind of like the look of them only having eyes. I feel like that also could have been interesting if the movie ended up like that. But their designs, their faces and stuff, like once they're revealed and everything, are actually pretty charming. And part of the reason I don't want to watch the live action one is because they try to make everything like hyper realistic, and that includes giving them like faces and stuff. But the faces, from what I kind of vaguely remember, look, for at least I'm remembering for Chip and Mrs. Potts, looked really creepy. I kind of don't want to think about it. I remember Lumiere had like kind of a cool design. I can like vaguely picture it in my mind. So some of the live action designs are scary. Like Flounder went from being kind of cute looking to being really creepy. I hate it. I do actually kind of like the live action Little Mermaid though. Like some of the changes. But it's another one of those I prefer the animated version. Anyway, I like that the Beast at the beginning of the movie, like before he meets Belle and stuff, or well, no, eventually he ends up walking more on two legs, like once he ends up like making a connection with Belle. But I like towards the beginning of the movie, I should say, he actually does seem like a little more kind of monstrous in a sense, or like animal like, where he's like crawling around on all fours and stuff. I think that's kind of interesting. Or like you even see with later in the movie, like when he's eating food, he's originally just kind of eating out of the bowl with his mouth, kind of like a dog, and then eventually uses spoons. It's almost like he's kind of gotten so used to being in this like beast form or whatever that he's kind of forgotten human stuff. I mean, maybe it's also harder having like giant paws and not being able to use like silverware or whatever, but being stuck in that form, like it's a physical thing, but I feel like with his attitude and everything, it's also kind of like a state of mind in the sense, not just of him not knowing how to love is how it's described, or having anger issues, but just kind of other things as well. And then Belle, she doesn't have like a full I Want song. I mean, that is basically like what the opening song is too, but there's this one part where she runs out into a field and shouts her hopes and dreams into the void, basically, of wanting adventure, which is probably one of my favorite parts of the movie. It gives the same feeling to me as that one part of Your World where Ariel ends up on that rock and stuff. Whatever those kind of moments are. I mean, I know that the song premise is usually called like an I Want song, but those moments in those songs where it's like the big moment where you're like screaming on a cliff or whatever. I feel like I'm describing this so poorly. Those kind of parts are so cool, honestly. I really like the scene when Belle offers herself up as prisoner. I forgot how dramatic it is. Like, I'm so used to like the lighter parts of the movie once like the Beast and Belle end up like forming more of a bond and kind of falling in love and stuff, that I forgot that he is kind of a little like whoa at the beginning and stuff, where he is actually kind of a threat and everything, where Belle's being told she'll have to stay there forever, and she's like actually kind of shocked seeing the Beast, not like scared, but I remember she like has a hand over her mouth. She asks him to like step into the light. But I really like just how dramatic that whole scene is. It feels very like serious and stuff. And then the servants like wanting to be nice to Belle from the start. I feel so bad for the servants, honestly. I think it's kind of shitty that like they end up getting cursed too. Like I could understand the enchantress or whatever it is, whoever it is, like cursing the Beast. Oh yeah, isn't his name like Adam or something? That's the other thing that's weird. Like all of the characters, the servants and Belle and everything, even once they become lovers and stuff, like only refer to him as the Beast, but like there's no way that's his actual names. That feels kind of mean. I'm not sure if it's Adam or not. Like I wrote the Beast in my notes, that's probably what I'm gonna refer to as, but I just wanted to mention that. But yeah, I feel bad for the servants because it's not like they did anything, but they got cursed too. It's like no wonder they're the ones that are trying so hard, you know, to get the Beast and Belle to fall in love because they want to break the curse. And they're the ones. I still remember with Cogsworth when he finds out that Belle was let go towards the end to like go see her father, and he's just like, whoa. And I was thinking like, yep, there goes your chance of becoming human, and all the furniture gets really sad. But you do see that the Beast kind of softens even a little bit, like as the talking furniture is trying to help him like be a little nicer to Belle from the start, of like inviting her to dinner and whatever. But it is also that he doesn't, it's like not just that he doesn't know how to talk to Belle, he doesn't really know how to interact with anyone. I'm assuming he doesn't really interact with the servants much either. And then you get the song Gaston. It's a good song. It's really catchy. I actually liked both of the songs, where it's like the mob, I guess the townspeople and whatever, and Gaston, because there's another one I just wrote in my notes as like the mob song when they're like going to kill the Beast and stuff. I like that song better than Gaston. It feels really like what was it that I wrote? Hold on. It feels really dramatic and kind of spooky, but the song Gaston, it's funny because it's just kind of like the same melody throughout the whole thing, and it just kind of keeps going and going and going, but it's really catchy. It's probably the catchiest song in this to me. But then it's also like comedic and stuff. Like Gaston is absolutely the villain and is definitely more of a threat like later on in the movie, but I can't help really laughing at him as like his attempts to court Belle and like how just full of himself it is. And I find it really funny that like he only has eyes for Belle, but then there's that trio of like pretty blonde women that are just throwing themselves at his feet constantly, and he doesn't like acknowledge them at all. It's just funny to me. But yeah, I like that the townsfolk, you know, they're like singing that song about Gaston, but then Gaston also sings it. Like, I find his character design kind of weird. It's probably supposed to be like that, you know, where like the Beast is like this animal looking person, but then he's actually a nice guy. And then Gaston looking like he'd be the hero or whatever. I don't think love interest. I never think love interest when I see Gaston's design, but at least like the hero of the story. But then he's like an asshole. But he looks kind of weird to me. I don't know if it's like the chin or him being so buff that it looks ridiculous, or the design of his face or whatever. Like, it's a good character design that like matches with his personality and everything, but I just think he's kind of ugly a little bit. But his voice sounds really good though. And then I forgot about Angela Lansbury voicing Mrs. Potts. I think this is probably one of my favorite roles of hers. Probably this, and then her as Mrs. Lovett in Sweeney Todd. But yeah, she gets the song Beauty and the Beast, which I'm so used to the Celine Dion version, which plays in the credits of this. I forgot about that, actually, because I used to hear that version on some CD in my mom's car as a kid, that I forgot that like the song in the movie is sung by someone else. But she does a really good job with that song. I love that whole scene. You're gonna hear me talk about it. But I kind of forgot about a lot of the beginning of this movie, like Belle just being really stubborn, you know, which I'm glad she's stubborn. I'm glad she rejects Gaston. I'm glad she doesn't agree. I'm glad it takes her like a while to like her and the Beast kind of like warming up to each other, where Belle doesn't want to go to dinner and he's like, oh, fine, whatever, you're gonna like starve or something. And he is like trying to make an effort with her. It's just that like he has his anger problems and stuff. And then you end up getting Be Our Guest, and that's a really fun song. I like how it's like exposition in there, but also just like catchy and fun, and visually it looks really cool too. I mean, visually a lot of things in this movie look cool. They have this thing in the credits I mentioned with some of the other Disney movies and stuff, where like every character has their own animation team and stuff, which I wish I'd see that more with animated movies. It's so cool, honestly. I mean, I'm not assuming like every animated movie ever where every character has their own animation team, but you can just tell like the visual quality of everything with this movie. But I especially love Be Our Guest. I really like the part when the spoons, they're all diving into this like pink drink and doing this like kind of synchronized swimming thing, even though they're spoons. I think visually my favorite part in the movie actually is during the dancing scene with the song Beauty and the Beast. Just the whole design of the ballroom looking just huge and 3D, and the way the camera kind of like moves around and stuff. There's this one shot where it's like you're looking from above like at this giant chandelier, and then it goes down until you see the dancers, and that's my favorite visually like my favorite part of the movie. It's so cool. They mention this, there's this one part of Be Our Guest where they mention about gray stuff. I've always wondered what that is. I should have probably paused at that part of the movie, because they mention it and I didn't even really notice it like on screen or anything. It's that line of like, try the gray stuff, it's delicious. I've always wondered about that. There's this one part, it's when Belle's about to go into the the West Wing, where Cogsworth is giving her a tour of the castle, and Belle isn't listening to him talk about like the artistic history of the castle and what art periods and periods of time that like the design of the castle is from. But if it was me, I would love to listen to that whole spiel, because the castle in this looks so cool. Honestly, I love there's like a billion like sculptures and everything everywhere. It's like this huge castle. It makes me wish that I could like do you know how like you look in Google Earth and you can move around your mouse and see everything and the innards of things and whatever? I wish I could do that to the castle and just take like a virtual tour of the whole thing and stuff. That it just design wise looks so cool. And I love the look of that like West Wing room that Belle isn't allowed to go to, and of course she decides to go there anyway, even though she's told not to, and that it's like destroyed and torn up, and you can tell this is probably the room the beast is in the whole time, and like the mirrors and what looked like every piece of glass is just broken because he hates his appearance. And then they have that part where it shows the painting that's scratched out, and Belle only sees the eyes and kind of just stares at it for a moment. And I like that she doesn't say anything. I feel like that whole moment just kind of speaks a lot. And then, like I mentioned, it pays off later when she looks at his eyes when he's in the human form and is able to tell, like, yep, that's you. I know who you are. But yeah, that painting being torn up early in the movie spoils his human design and stuff, because it's supposed to be like a big reveal at like the end of the movie and stuff, but like you already know what he's gonna look like anyway. But yeah, I like that they eventually get to bond. Like, he gets mad at her about going in the room, which is fair because he like told her not to. He's like, hey, this is the one place you can't go. And then she ends up getting scared and running away, and the wolves trying to attack her. That's also a good scene. And like the beast tries to protect her, and then once it's the point where she's like bandaging him up or whatever, then you get like that whole like almost like right before the montage where they're like starting to hang out and stuff. And I like that at this point in the movie, like Belle had like a ponytail or something, and then she ends up having her hair down, and it ends up down in like a lot of the other times in the movie. I just want to say I really love that look on her. It looks really pretty. And then you get to see her dad go to try to save her and go in the forest alone. I felt really bad for him, and he ends up like almost dying and stuff. And then I love the part when Belle is shown that the castle library room. Even though I'm not as much of like a bookworm as her, that room, the shelves are like up to the wall in books and everything. I'd even be happy there and everything of just giving her this like grand library and stuff. And the beast is like so excited to show it to her. That was really sweet. He's like just as excited as he knows that she'll be, and has her like close her eyes and everything and takes her in there. And it's like the nicest thing anyone could do for her, but also probably the nicest thing anyone besides maybe like her dad or the guy that sells books and like the town bookkeeper, librarian, or whatever has done for her, because most of the villagers either don't like her or don't understand her. So I think that whole part when she's given the library is really sweet. And then they have the two of them have this like song together where it's I really like lyrically how it is too, besides being a pretty song where they're singing about like suddenly feelings towards each other and stuff, and seeing the other person in a new light, like traits you notice about someone while you're falling in love with them. I really just like that whole concept as a song and everything. And I know sometimes in movies it's like you have an animated moment, I mean not animated, like a romantic moment, and they're it doing an activity, but I like that instead it's like a montage of them hanging out, like feeding the birds and stuff, and it's one of the times you get to see what the snow looks like outside the castle. It's just a really nice moment. What else? And then I love that Belle gets different outfits throughout the movie. Like she starts out in blue. I really always love her blue dress with the, I'm trying to remember if it was a bow. Might be thinking of Ariel's. I remember Ariel has like a giant blue bow I was always jealous of. But then Belle ends up in like green when she's given the library, and then red. I really love when she's outside in the snow with the birds. She has this like kind of dark red hood that's kind of lined with this like kind of white fur or something. It's a really pretty look. I just really like the outfits in this movie, honestly. There's a lot of outfits in the Disney princess movies actually that I think look cool, which, oh man. And then you get her dress, the yellow dress or it's more like gold really, during the Beauty and the Beast song when they're gonna dance together. I love that they both get to dress up for it. I like the Beast's outfit as well, where it's like this kind of dark blue outfit that like kind of contrasts with Belle's yellow. And then it kills me that in the live action movie they just completely butcher her dress, where in the movie it's like it's yellow, but it's kind of more of a gold. It's like not very bright or anything. It's like a little shiny and it looks really nice. And then from what I remember at the live action one, it's like this really bright yellow and it looks very cheap, and I'm like, huh? Like, I don't know if I'm just kind of slightly ranting here, if the Beauty and the Beast live action remake or whatever, or the Cinderella one came first. I think the Cinderella one's from like 2015. I thought the Beauty and the Beast one was from like 2017, but I'm not sure. I'm just assuming the Beauty and the Beast one came first or something. I'm like, how did they mess up the dress this bad? And yes, if I watch the live action movie again, I will be ranting about this again because it always pisses me off a little bit. Because in the Cinderella live action movie dress, I mean, it's different than the one in the animated one, but it looks so pretty. Why did they mess up Belle's dress? But anyway, in this movie, which we're talking about something good here, it does look really nice. I'm happy about it. But yeah, they get dressed up, they have a nice dinner, they go to do their dance. It's really cool. And they both look so happy too, especially Belle. She's like smiling the whole time. And the Beast, I love the part, there's this one part when he's spinning Belle or something, and he looks over at some of the, you know, the furniture and stuff in the room. I hate calling them furniture. The servants, I don't really know what to refer to them as. I guess the servants, that sounds a bit nicer. And he gives them like a really big smile when Belle like puts her head on his chest or something. That was sweet. But yeah, it's a beautiful ballroom. It just looks huge, and just the way they have the whole thing animated is really well done, honestly. And then he ends up letting her go because he loves her, and he knows that she wants to see her father again, but also like he's dying out there. And at first I was thinking, why doesn't the Beast or one of the servants go and like bring Maurice to the castle or something? But I think part of the curse is like they can't leave, so I think Belle's the only one that could like go to him, and she's, you know, gonna take him home and stuff. But I assumed, because he like looks at the rose and then he lets Belle go, I'm assuming he knows like if he lets her go and if she doesn't come back, then, you know, the rose will run out of petals and he'll like die and everything. I actually couldn't remember, I misremembered it of like that he like died before she got there or was dying or something. I might be thinking of the story in like the fairy tale itself or something, because I kind of remember reading it. I remember Belle having like a bunch of siblings and her asking for like a single rose, but then here she's like an only child, which I feel like kind of works better here. But no, in this, the part when he is dying is when he's like fighting Gaston and stuff. And then I forgot that they try to take Maurice to like a mental institution, and Gaston's like a shitty person in that he's letting that happen. He's the one that starts that happening unless Belle agrees to marry him. Then he'll like convince the townsfolk that everything's fine or whatever. It's such like a dick move. And then the Beast basically just giving up because he's sad about Belle, and then Gaston goes to the room with the rose, and the Beast turns around and gives him the most like pitiful look and doesn't try to defend himself until Belle shows up. Was kind of sad to watch. And then they have this really cool fight in the rain. There's actually like a couple of fights going on in this movie actually. The servants end up fighting the invaders. That's actually a really fun part, and I'm glad that's in the movie at all, because you know, otherwise it's kind of sad and dramatic going on of like Gaston going to like fight the Beast and Belle's trying to get over there. So it gives like this kind of little lighter moment of like the servants are just beating the shit out of people, but you know, they're furniture, so it's a bit more fun to watch than as if they're humans. It kind of it's kind of funny me thinking about that scene of the furniture beating up people, because I over the summer, like last year, played that dating sim where you date like humanized furniture, but like they're still furniture, and I'm going off topic again. I remember reading a fan fiction where it was like a home invasion thing where the furniture beats up in that game, like beats up the invaders, and I was just thinking about the Beauty and the Beast thing. Anyway, I didn't notice last time I watched this, but I noticed this time that there's like an instrumental of the song Be Our Guest when the servants are beating up the mob that's coming in. I think that was just the cherry on top with that scene. But yeah, Gaston's fight with the Beast in the rain is pretty cool. Because at first Gaston's winning, and then I like that once the Beast ends up seeing Belle again and seeing her in person, it kind of gives him this sort of strength in the sense to fight Gaston, and then he easily overpowers Gaston, and Gaston has this look in his face like, oh shit. Because like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't get into a fight with a guy that's like 9 feet tall and has the strength of like a large animal, you know? Maybe that's not the best idea. But I feel like Gaston trying to kill him also works because you already had him sing that whole song about like how he's a hunter and he has animal heads in his wall, so it like kind of fits. Like he even mentions about something about that of like before going to the castle of like, I'm gonna put his head on my wall or whatever. And then Belle showing up and like admitting her feelings before the last rose petal falls, because of course it's at like the very last moment, and then the Beast turning into a human and stuff. All of that, like from the fight until that point, is like such a cool part of the movie. I think especially because of like the scenery of like they're in the rain and then the clouds are like kind of stormy and stuff. It's like nighttime. I'm like assuming it's nighttime anyway. It just makes everything look so much more dramatic. And then it's kind of funny to me because like you already know what the Beast is going to look like because of the painting thing, but you don't know what he's going to sound like, because I'm assuming it's like the same voice actor and stuff, but his voice, like the Beast in the human form, sounds like a lot higher pitched than he is when he's in the Beast form. I mean, maybe that makes sense because like he'd been in like a different body and sounds kind of more growly and deeper, but it like that was the thing rather than the appearance thing that actually kind of threw me off. But it's nice when they're reunited, and I like that part, like I mentioned, when Belle just kind of looks at his eyes and it zooms in on his eyes and she can tell like that's the same person. And then all the other characters get turned into humans. It's so funny to me with like Lumiere and the feather duster, where even as furniture they're like into each other. Like literally when they're introduced, they're like behind a curtain and they're making these kind of noises and you think like, okay, something's going on over there or whatever, or something's about to. And then he sees her as a human, and of course she's really pretty, and he's immediately excited and goes after her. And I was imagining his thoughts are probably like, you know, they're finally humans again and they've been like wanting each other for so long they can finally, you know. And then instead Cogsworth shows up and interrupts whatever was going to go down there. And now that they actually have arms, they immediately get in a fist fight and start like beating the shit out of each other. It was great. And then everyone's there with like Belle and the Beast dancing and stuff, and you have the stained glass of them together. I forgot about that part for the ending. That was really sweet. And I like that the castle itself, like it goes from looking kind of like gloomy and spooky looking to being covered in all these like vines and flowers. I forgot that the castle itself gets like its own transformation at the end. I thought that was pretty cool. The one thing I always kind of wondered with the ending of like, you know, I mean, the castle does seem like it's kind of far from like the rest of the town, but I'm assuming the townspeople probably know there's like a castle and a prince up there, unless it's like really far away. Do they ever wonder about it like during the time when everybody's transformed? Like I know the people in the castle, I don't think they can like leave, but I'm wondering, what did the villagers think? Do they even know that the castle's there? I mean, I think Maurice ends up like stumbling on it from like taking a shortcut or something, so I'm assuming no one knows. But or I was thinking like, I'm assuming the servants had families, like assuming that Chip is not born as a cup, him and his entire cupboard's worth of siblings had to come from somewhere. Where is Mr. Potts, and what does he think about all of this? But anyway, yeah, really good movie. Really nice to rewatch it because I hadn't seen it probably since I was like a kid or something. I'm like kind of vaguely thinking about the live action one, and I'm just thinking like I'm kind of vaguely curious what changes, but I don't know. By the time I get around to watching it, it'll probably be like a while later since watching this movie. So if I do make a video on it, I probably won't properly be able to like compare them. Or maybe it'll just be my excuse to watch the animated one. I don't know if this is going to be like the one time where I'm like just curious enough for a rewatch of a live action Disney movie, but we'll see. We'll see. Of a remake. I mean, because there are normal like live action Disney movies, and those definitely have a range, especially for the older ones. Which I've talked about some of those already. But yeah, animated Beauty and the Beast. It's good. I know there's a sequel. I remember I watched it. I remember the villain was like, I think in Oregon or something. I think it took place where it was like a sequel or something, but the servants were still like furniture. I don't know, man. I kind of vaguely remember it, but yeah, this was good. I would happily watch it again. I wish I rewatched it sooner, because I probably haven't seen it since I was like 10 or something, but very happy to see this again. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching.